Hi, I'm Sarah Akiba. I'm your host today, and this is That's So Akiba. Welcome to episode 1. I'm just gonna kind of introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me and how I got here. Honestly, if I'm being 100% totally honest, I got here by faking it till I make it. A lot of it is, a story about just perseverance and really just believing in myself. My story begins in Paris, France. I was born in Paris. I moved to Miami when I was about 3.5 years old. I have 3 older brothers. I have a beautiful mother, and I have a father who passed away, which is why I started the philanthropy part of my life, which is AWOM Foundation. AWOM Foundation stands for Angel Watching Over Me. I literally started that right after he passed. I would say like a couple months after. I started it because I couldn't find anyone, or I couldn't really talk about my feelings with my family. It was more just, how could I help them? That has a lot to do with my human design. It's always about other people, which is also, I just want to say this is why I'm doing this podcast. It's really not about me. And my fiance had to remind me of that today because filming the trailer was such a disaster today. Freaked me out. But really what brings me back is that I'm doing this for others. And if I can just help even just one person, feel like they belong, this is where you belong. If you really don't believe in yourself at all, you really should. And the reason I say that is because I think why I've gotten so far in my career, in my life, and being able to open all of these different little companies and ideas that I have is because I just go for it. Like Nike, just do it. Just do it. Just if you believe in yourself, if you feel like you should do something, if it's calling to you several times, it's because you belong there. And that's really how everything started. So Angel Watching Over Me, I'll go back a little bit. I was 21. I was actually living in Israel. I did a year abroad in Israel. I was studying at the University of Miami and 21 years old, partying, living my best freaking life. Really didn't study abroad. I don't even think I went to like 2 whole classes during that time. And then my dad was in Israel with me, and he just came like for the last couple of like weeks that I was there, I think it was. And then he took me back home, and he knew exactly why he was taking me back home. It's because he knew that he'd have to go back to Israel a little bit after. He didn't really like the doctors in America. So he always, he had cancer 5 years before that. And they told him, if you keep smoking, you're going to die in 5 years. Like literally 5 years after, to the T. He went into just like his body just kind of went into full shock, and he just couldn't move anymore. So we went back to Israel, and 3 weeks after that, he passed. And I'll go more into that story in another episode. I feel like it's just a really deep story. I still tremble. It's been 11 years. I still grieve. And I think like if you lose someone so close to you in your life, like you'll never stop. You just learn to live with it. So we'll talk a lot about that too. And we'll shed a lot of tears on this podcast too, because it's very real and we lose people every day. It's just about how you choose to remember them. And I always love to say, if I don't cry for my dad, who will? If we don't cry for them, like who else will remember them, right? And it just shows how much you love them so much. And so I've been through a lot of loss. I've lost my little cousin. I've lost my grandparents, but it's never been like the loss of my dad. I'm getting married really soon. So that'll be a whole other story about relationships, how I was engaged to the wrong man and now engaged to the new and perfect man for me. And how, even that, brings up your grief a lot. Going back a little bit, I am also a celebrity stylist. That is how I make money. So my foundation is one aspect, and it's a really big part of my life. And I always say that's my true work. My job is being a wardrobe stylist and a creative director for brands, whatever it takes. Whoever really needs me and needs me to bring their vision to life, I do full production work for them. And I love my clients. I love who I work for. That'll be another story too, is just, So Akiba has become such a brand of like life design. I always like to say like, I'll design your life. And I think you should. And that's a really, really big part of this podcast too, is we'll really go into how you can create the life that you want to live. How do you want to live your life? What do you want your life to look like? How do you want it to feel? And how we can really bring that vision to life. I promise you that it is possible. And that's what So Akiba was, that's what So Akiba is. I'm constantly reinventing myself, and I'm constantly coming up with new ideas, and I'm constantly just going for it. And the only person who ever gets in the way is either myself and what I think, what others constantly tell me, oh, that's not good, or that's not good. If I listened to people in my life, I would never be where I am. I would never have a full production studio. I also allowed this studio where we're filming right now, it's called The Lab, originally AWOM Lab, and it was supposed to be a female co-creative space. It started as that and then turned into a full production house because everyone who worked in here was a creative, and I luckily just put myself in so many of the right rooms where I just kept getting all these people jobs. And I was like, okay, well, started off as a female co-working space, and now here we are, full production, videographer, photographer, hair and makeup, wardrobe styling. If you need an editorial done, we do that for you. If you need a commercial done, we'll do that for you. If you need to just like a little spice up your life and do a shoot for your freaking self, this is where we do that for you. And it's from A to Z. So like I started as one thing and ended up being the other. So it's really about being open to different opportunities. I do so much. I do so many different things. And I think that's just part of my personality, that I just really think that when you have an idea and you feel it in your heart and you really just want to just live that idea and not think what if, or live in that what if life, you just gotta go for it. Go for it and don't listen to others. I think that was my biggest setback a lot of the times. I've lost a lot of friends, which we'll talk about a lot here too, is that, friends who don't believe in you. The people who surround you are so big and play such a big role in your life. And you really need to listen to that. And you need to be careful who you surround yourself with, because they can knock you down the same way they can bring you up. So make sure that you surround yourself by those people that really just want the best for you. Not fake best, the real best. I say, fake it till you make it. But really, it's just also living that real, authentic life. I know we use that word a lot lately, but authenticity is everything. Being who you truly are is everything. And I think that's why people tend to relate to you in a real way. If you fake it and you're not who you are, then you're gonna have the wrong people around you. It's without a doubt. And AWOM has become such a beautiful thing. It started from a hashtag angel watching over me. And people just started reaching out like, hey, what is hashtag angel watching over me? And I'm like, it's just the people you've lost, like hashtag them too, And then I just started having natural conversations with people and started meeting up with random people at Starbucks about our loss and talked about loss and grief until it literally turned into a grief group. And we have an amazing therapist on board. Well, we had an amazing therapist on board, and it just, AWOM just continued to grow to be this just safe space for people to just feel like they're not alone. And that is so big for me. Like, I'll do whatever to make sure that people have a space to just be them, to feel like, okay, we're not in this alone. Whether it's my support group for the girls at the schools, we've literally built safe spaces for young girls to become the best version of themselves, and they don't go without. So, in our first school, we built an actual room where they had binders, papers, extra pens, pads if they needed it, leggings in case they leaked. Like, it was just so real. They had books, they had everything to make sure that they could succeed. And we would meet every single week to talk about everything that just made them their best selves. And we continue to do so. We're in our third school. We're now actually in the school that I started at, that I went to for middle school. And that's where, I had a really hard time in middle school. And that this is exactly why I have this program, is because I know what a difference it makes to have people who support you and who are just there to listen to you through this time of where you're changing so much as a young woman. And I'm just excited to, for you guys to even hear my students speak. I have so many graduate students. I have Kabri who works for me. I have so many students who have worked for me and who have grown into just the most beautiful people who can now even take over my spot if they wanted to, and that's my goal in life, is to just make sure that you're not stagnant, you know? Like if you're surrounded by me, it's because I'm gonna make sure that I take you to that next level. With my employees in the past, that has happened in not such a graceful way, but it does happen. And it's beautiful to see growth in the people that you're surrounded with, that you've mentored, and also bringing on people that are currently mentoring me that inspire me every single day. I just can't wait for you guys to listen in on all of these amazing stories. And I'm just so grateful to have you here. I'm Sarah Akiba, and you're listening to That's So Akiba. You can subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you choose to listen in, and stay tuned. Follow me on @SoAkiba on socials. So my coming to America story starts when I was 3.5. So my parents actually met in Guadeloupe. It's a little French island. You know, had my brothers and then had me, and then came to America actually due to anti-Semitism. Imagine, this is 1995 when we got here, and we used to get swastikas on our house. Like literally every week, my mom would have to paint the door blue again. My dad was just like, this is just getting crazy and we got to get out of here. Like before the kids grow up, they just shouldn't grow up in an area like this. And I'm talking Paris, France back in the day. Like this is what was happening then and happening, you know, still happening till this day, maybe actually a lot worse. Came to America, my parents really just, you know, starting from the ground up, both from beautiful Moroccan families, lots of brothers and sisters, lots of cousins. I've been so blessed to have the family that I have, just really tight knit. You know, I really hold that Akiba name strong. That's why we have That's So Akiba. You know, I get that name of That's So Akiba is because in high school and middle school, honestly, in high school and middle school, I would always dress a little different. I would definitely like just be really out there with my wardrobe and be like, oh, only That's So Akiba, like only she can pull that off. That was always the verbiage that would come out. Like, and I would never be called Sarah. It was always just Akiba, what's up? So it was always Akiba. That was always my name. And I was always my brother's little sister. So I really had an in school because of my brothers. I was always well protected. I mean, imagine 3 older brothers and a dad, like 4 very masculine, dominant men in my life who really shaped who I am. And I think that's why I have a lot of that masculine, strong energy. Definitely comes from them and my mom, honestly. My mom has a lot of that too. Yeah, that's how the name came about. It was always just because I was different. A lot of people would make fun of me for it. A lot of people would, you know, say that like, oh, like, why are you wearing 2 different color Converses? But it was really in at that time. Or why are you wearing a Dickies jumpsuit with a Dickies hat with a Dickies matching backpack? I don't even know if some of you will even know what that is. But like, I used to like rock the out of that back in the day. Paste my freaking baby hairs to my head. Like just this French girl trying to not look French at all. I really went through a lot of stages. Then I had my rock stage. I was listening to like Fall Out Boy. That was my first concert. I still remember what I wore to that. But it was always like, oh, that's so Akiba. Only she could wear that, you know, in the most negative way. But it was actually also a positive thing. And I mean, it clearly stuck. My best friend, Allie, actually, I told her that I wanted to open up a website, that I wanted to sell clothes. I always wanted to design. My dad actually made me sign a contract when I was 17. I told him that I wanted to create shoes that are connected to pants. And here we are years later, and I should have done it. I signed a paper with my dad, and he's like, I want you to actually, if you say you're going to do it, sign the paper because I want to make sure you actually do it. Don't just say it, you got to do it. And I still have that contract with my dad where he literally made me sign my name and say, like, you're going to design these pieces. And I never did, but Balenciaga later, that like literally my mom FaceTimes me one day and shows me leggings connected to shoes, and it was literally my design when I was younger. To say that like you should really, if you have a really good idea, you have to go for it or somebody else will do it, you know? And that's kind of part of my story too, about how my dad was such an important part of really believing in whatever I said I was gonna do. And although I didn't make that particular thing happen, I always made my other visions come to life, my other ideas. I always made sure that, you know, I didn't just say I was going to do them, I would do them. Would they carry out? Like I literally opened a cafe, I think a couple years ago called Le Cafe. And I opened it for like 2 months, but then my styling gigs just started like blowing up. I know before I said fake it till you make it, And I tell you this because, and I don't know if this will relate to anyone or maybe a lot of people, but I was 21. I had just finished college. My dad had just died. You know, when it rains, it pours. We were, losing our house. We had to sell it. We had no food in the fridge. It was just like a lot happening at once. And it took a really big aha moment and a really big slap in the face from my mom, the only time she's ever done that to me, to really just wake me the up. And it was when we didn't have food in the fridge. My dad had just passed, like I mentioned. And I go, Mom, like, the one yogurt we had in the fridge had freaking mold in it. And I remember looking at my mom like, why is this in the fridge like this? Like, why don't we have food? Like, we were never raised like this. Like, this is not okay. Whatever. And she literally slapped me dead in the face and walked out of the house. That was that day. And I just remember I was baffled. Like, I remember standing there, like, just like in a movie, like she just smacked the shit out of me. But it was my wake-up call. It was like, okay, I literally left the house before I left the house, I cleaned everything up. Like, I mopped the floors, I cleaned all the dishes, I made sure the whole house was so clean. And then I went and got myself 2 jobs. Day job, night job. I was a waitress at a kosher restaurant during the day, and at night I worked at a Pizza Hut. It wasn't actually Pizza Hut, but like a pizza joint. Was working there and was also going to school at the University of Miami. Couldn't afford it. My sister-in-law ended up, co-signing for me to get a huge $100,000 loan. And then I was also trying to style. So I was interning for Miami Mag for like, I don't know, not very long, but for a little while. Then I worked for Plum TV under another stylist. That was amazing. And that's where I learned to be a stylist. And I was like, oh my God, you can use other people's clothes to dress someone. And I was just so in awe of that. I was like, wow, like, I don't have to design. I don't have the money to do it, but I can use other designers to create looks. And I learned that, and I just started interning and getting my foot in the door. And, I was just doing a lot. Like, I think I was even a promoter at nightclubs at one point. I was just like throwing parties, and like, I was just trying to make money wherever I could, and I was just, my hustle game came in really, really strong. But to go back really quick to That's So Akiba, where the name came, is my best friend Allie at the time. She was like, you should just start a website called that'soakiba.com. And I did. And that was before my dad passed. And I started selling clothes online and selling clothes from inside my house. I would invite all my friends over and they would come and shop at my house. And I was just always making money. Like, even in high school, I used to sell earrings in my backpack. Like, I loved the hustle. I loved making money. And even till this day, like, I'm not afraid to say it. I love making money. I'll do whatever it takes. And that's okay. I love that I'm giving, and I make that such a huge part of my life, but I also love the hustle. And that's a huge part of who I am. A little while after, while I'm in school, I'm working, I'm styling, I'm doing all of the things. I went abroad, came back. My dad had passed, so that's kind of the timeline. And, I just took that big slap in the face, and then I really just woke up. I woke up to the person that I wanted to become. I wanted to make sure that I was independent, that I could hold my own, and I could take care of my mom. Like, that was my biggest thing, is my mom is my entire life, and she has done so much for me and my family. Like, for the last 11 years, she's been the mother, the father, the everything we need her to be. And I get emotional talking about her because she's just the most beautiful, the greatest person in the world. And I know that if any of you guys have moms like I do, and I love seeing those videos of like football players and stuff talking about their moms and how they're the first phone call every day. She's definitely my first phone call every day because she's the most important human in my life. And also never told me that I couldn't or that I shouldn't. She was always just go for it, just do it. Here we are. I'm 32 now, and I'm just living the life that I really chose to design for myself. And, even though it took being $100,000 in student loan debt, $40,000 in debt of credit cards, literally faking it till I made it, I literally brought myself into the deepest hole of debt, taking flights here, pretending here, saying I'm a wardrobe stylist, I'm this, I've worked with this, I never worked for those people. That was a damn lie, okay? And I literally I said that I was that because I knew that I could become that, and people believed me, and it put me in the right doors. And sometimes, I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but it definitely got me in those doors. You know, you are who you say you are, who you believe you are. No one can tell you you're not that person. Like if tomorrow I am the most famous Art Basel artist, like if someone could put a banana on the wall and sell it for millions of dollars, why can't I be the next biggest banana artist too? Like no one can tell you that you can't do something. And I think that it's just such an important thing to say that I was $40,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt. You know, I'm like, just going into like just trying to become this person. And 25 years old hits. I was working, you know, I got a lot of great jobs. I was working with Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert. I got on all these amazing sets with all these incredible people. I mean, I was at dinner with Drake one night. I was at dinner with Kylie Jenner one night. And this is at 22, 23. I was working with Yes Jules at the time, like just really getting in the right rooms, you know, and also throwing parties on the side, like whatever it took to make a couple dollars, like that's where I was at. 25 hits, you know, and I'm like, I'm done with this styling game. I'm just done with it. I don't want to deal with these fake ass people. I don't like that. You know, I was on set with a lot of these people and I'm like this white girl, let alone like my family's literally from Africa. Like I'm not white whatsoever, you know, and I felt a lot of racism. I felt like I did not belong whatsoever. And then I get a phone call from someone who is one of my dearest friends that I hope to have on this episode. His name's Jose. He's, you know, most amazing director. And he just kind of brought me on. He said, listen, I have this new artist. He's going to be the next one out. Can you come style him? And I was over it. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it for you. This is different. I've never worked with a Latin artist before. And that was Jay Cortez. And that's literally how my styling career completely blew up. Took myself out of a $140,000 debt in 1 year. Paid it all off. Created a savings account. And now here I am. So this is just a really small part of my personal story, and you can expect to hear much deeper and much more every single week. I'll be bringing on some of these amazing guests that I keep talking about that really changed the game for me, and I'm really excited to have you come back and listen in, and I know that this is for you, and I'm doing it for you. Thanks so much for listening today, and I hope to keep having you back. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Just follow along and you'll hear more.